right. I think we're here. Make sure we're good. Okay. What's going on, y'all? Welcome up. Let's start over. What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the series. I don't know what we calling it yet. We're gonna just continue to react to videos. Just know it's actually this will be an extension. We're gonna claim it out. This is an extension of my podcast. So this is another episode of Knowing is Knowing. This is a new edition of Knowing is Knowing, where I react to different videos on TikTok to discuss in a more in depth fashion. As a precursor, as always, I am a counselor in training. Again, I am a counselor in training. I am still learning. I'm still figuring things out. Whole point of this is to try to build a new way to create a sense of awareness and understanding with us as people, as individuals, and to continuously build healthier dynamics, understanding with self, and to kind of answer some of life deeper questions. I like to talk about these things all the time, and so I've always, been grateful enough for people who have been sending me videos to discuss different topics. And there's a couple of videos I want to talk about today. This one will be more about social media and relationships. As always, it's just definitely my bread and butter. But we're going to talk about that. So it's a couple of videos. Again, these are just clearly my opinion on these things. This is not meant to again demean or degrade anybody. Appreciate any content creators doing out there doing great things, doing all the things that are important to them. Again, I just think it's important we have an extensive dialogue on certain things. So let's get to it.
Social media has completely broken our expectations of like human interaction because people will be like, "Oh, I only got 300 views on a video, like a get ready with me video." And it's like, dude, if 300 people showed up to your house and watched you get ready, you'd be losing your mind. You'd be terrified. That'd be horrible. It'd be
No lies told. So I do want to talk about that because I think that is really, really important as a content creator myself, as those who are doing content creation. I think that we don't sometimes understand the significance of the influence that technology has had on our minds and bodies. It really affects us in the mental space to really feel like that we have to reach certain numbers to feel successful. There's obviously studies that have been shown in correlation with teenagers, but I would like to argue this takes a step further that social media also affects adults as well. And the reason why is because we're competing against a system that generates on its own automatic whim, right? So, you know, there's people out there who are doing very well in the social media space, and because of that, they can create a sense of self-importance and sense of relevance. And on the other end, those who are following those people, you can feel like you cannot live up to those people's way of life, expectations, go through the same things they went through, don't think you're funny enough, or you don't think you have a compelling story. And I think that, this definitely does dilute our thought process with a lot of things. I definitely think it affects us mentally in a way that is not healthy. I mean, I think as much as I'm a big advocate for social media, as much as I love to talk about social media, I think that this is a prime example on how dangerous it can be. Because at the end of the day, like there's people literally on social media right now that are feeling discouraged because their videos are only getting 200 to 300 views, and they're only getting 2 to 10 likes. And I think again we have to really start asking ourselves, what more do we want? I think we think of often the monetary aspect of social media, and I'm a believer that you have to find different ways to be innovative. I think social media is just one of the ways to potentially make money, but it should not make you feel better or worse about yourself based off the performance of a system that again we have no control over. Numbers get inflated all the time. Some people are buying their views. Like there's a whole bunch of things that we don't necessarily talk about. And I would like to take it a step further. That I think the biggest thing that we struggle with is our inability to be incredibly patient in this process. I think we see people who go viral and some people capitalize on those things, and that it sets them up for life. The question always is, if we take it a step further, is that person going to be fulfilled to now live up to this role and character? Because I think the thing is that like when you do go viral and you're known for certain niches and markets, you now have to kind of live up to that all the time, and you can also affect yourself in a way again because you're competing with a system where you feel like you have to do certain things to get more views, more attraction, more eyes on you. And at the end of the day, he's right. Like, yeah, if we had 300 people in our room or in a bathroom just like looking at us on a day to day basis, like, could we really withstand that? No. And we have to remind ourselves that these are just numbers, man. These are just people. These are people that you probably don't know, you probably would never know. And I do agree, though, that social media has created a false sense of self importance. 100%. I used to very much be against people who did dating lives. Not because I was hating, but I just, because it's working. People are doing it. Like, it works for you. I love the creativity behind it. I really love the fact that people are taking that stuff to do something that is completely unnormal. Like, it's unnatural, right? To put a phone out in the middle of the parking lot, drive in, pull back, and like you got to do the whole system, and you're recording yourself, right? You're creating your own version, which I think is great. I think you creating your own documentary is great. I think you documenting yourself is great. I'm all a fan for that. I think again though, we take some of the simplest tasks and we romanticize it in a way that I don't think is healthy. I don't think it's healthy that you don't feel good about yourself because you see somebody going to Target and they have a sound behind it and they're going to get some t-shirts and you feel like that your life doesn't compare to that because you didn't go to yoga this morning and you didn't go to the gym or whatever. Like, you're not doing what that person does. And the truth be told, like, we don't really know like how long that person shot that in between before making that video. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously if they got the influence and they're getting the brand deals, that's great. But again, when you get to a certain point, you got to be able to stay consistent, and everybody kind of gets their 15 minutes of fame. So people say that some people stand the test of time, and they can find a way to make it work. Again, though, we have to realize like the expectations that we have behind this has to be true to who we are. It should not try to do it in a space where we're trying to live up to a character to make us feel better about ourselves. Because at the end of the day, followers don't mean anything if they really don't know you, right? You see people having mental breakdowns on this stuff all the time, right? Where you have to take long periods of time away from the apps because life gets real. Because again, this what we see right now, that was a 15-second clip. We're seeing 30-second up to maybe 5-minute videos of people daily lives. Yeah, we're creating these massive assumptions on what life should be like. And again, I do think it's very dangerous that we over romanticize everything, that um, we over socialize everything as well. Everything does not have to fit into a narrative of being an aesthetic. I think we live off of aesthetics now. I don't think we live to just really live life for what it is. So no, I really do appreciate that video, man, because it is true, man. It's just the way the life is now, man. Again, I'm very concerned for the next generation. I mean, if you're 30 and up, maybe I'll say 25 and up. Maybe you grew up in a generation where you saw flip phones and we were still going outside, we were still having fun, we were still socializing. Obviously, as time went on, we're not as social in person. Everybody's glued to their phones. Everybody's stuck to again their own bubble, and this was kind of what happened. Social media has kind of created its own bubble and own narrative that isn't always necessarily true. So I do appreciate that video so much. Let's get into another one. Oh, it's the other one. Yeah, it's the other one I want to watch.
Just because you are genuinely sorry does not mean that people need to forget the actions that had consequences.
All right, we're gonna stop right there. So I think this topic is really important because in the space that I'm in as a person, and then obviously just working with clients on a consistent basis, the biggest thing that I think we really have to get better with is understanding that everybody that apologize to us doesn't mean that their mistakes or the things they've done should just be easily forgotten, right? So I think forgiveness is a very very unique slope that even though I have written about this in like my books and I talk about it a lot, it is something that I can still admit I have not fully mastered, and it can even admit that honestly been a hypocrite to the works that I have presented with other people, and I can own that. Forgiveness is unique because you have to now radically accept a couple things. Forgiveness not even sometimes about what somebody does to you. Sometimes it's what you've done to people, and if you're somebody with a good conscience and a good heart. You've made mistakes and you've hurt people. You have you affected people in ways that we can struggle to forgive ourselves. How many times have we heard people say nasty things about themselves? They do it all the time. Like we struggle to forgive ourselves, let alone forget other people. But I think when it comes to other people, though, I'm gonna go back to this video to finish it off. I do think it's important though that we hear everything that's being said, because consequences come from actions, right? And I think sometimes we like to say we're sorry to slap a band-aid on it, and then that person should just automatically erase it. But there's some things that people do that have a long-lasting effect. So let's continue the rest of this. We want to get there. Okay.
in your past. I feel like a lot of people believe that an apology provides erasure to their previous actions, when in reality, what that apology is supposed to do is put a band aid over wounds that you have caused previously.
See, put a band-aid over. Let's keep going.
And just because a band aid is put over those wounds does not mean that you do not need to make the conscious effort to repair damaged bonds or damaged people from your past. You have to be okay.
Man, they don't talk about that enough. Again, you can apologize all the time. At the end of the day, people are going to forgive you at their own time. You can't place the expectation on when people should forgive you. You know what I'm saying? Like, it really does depend on what you did, really. And everybody has their own right and principle to what bothers them and what makes them go a certain way. Like, it's just one of those things that you just got to really learn to accept. Again, that's something that I am always continuously working on and learning. Is like, there's a lot of people I know I've apologized to in the past, and if they still got an issue with something I did, I mean, yeah, that's their own responsibility. But some of the actions I did, may have created so much damage that I can't really be mad about that. Like, I used to feel a way when somebody did not easily just let go of what I did. But like, I might have said the craziest thing to them, or I went to a place that just wasn't necessary, and that's not healthy, right? So I think we do gotta let go of the expectation that people will easily forgive you because of what you did. Yeah, you're human and you make mistakes, and kind of like similar to that comment, it is like a double edged sword. So I think from a relationship standpoint, though, because I like to kind of get back into that. I'm a firm believer you're going to say I'm sorry more than you love your partner. I do, right? Just because of the daily nuances of learning the person that you're with, your defaults, the behavior, sometimes the own stresses. Like, there's difference of extremes to which you should just easily forgive somebody, right? Obviously, cheating and abuse, I feel like, are hard no's, right? Or just not really just accepting somebody for who they are. Taking them for granted. Not showing your appreciation, right? There's only so many times you can say sorry about that before there's not a consequence that comes with that. And so that expectation really has to be let go by people. Is that, yeah, if you messed up, sometimes you got to sit with that, man. I used to hate that. I used to hate having to sit with my own stuff, man. Like, to me, it was just kind of like, yeah, I messed up. All right, cool, let it go. That's not fair, right? Uh, Intentionality versus impact. Even if your intentions are good, does not mean it still didn't impact somebody. And because of that, you cannot tell somebody when to let it go, right? Our own scale of healthiness, or the forgiving scale, um, is subjective. It's based off of what other people think is important to them, and that's okay. Like, there's nothing you can do about that. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where you really just have to learn to accept how people operate, what's important to them, and how they want to let go. Now, at some point after a while, if you genuinely, sincerely apologize, it is no longer your responsibility, right? If you took the onus and you was accountable for what you did and what you said, at that point you cannot, sit there and feel guilty about it after a while. Now, some people will do that. Some people will uh, make you they want you to feel how you made them feel, and respectfully, there's nothing you can do about that because again, we are human at the end of the day, and we will make mistakes. And so, that's a harsh truth I've learned so much well of that. Regardless of what somebody has done to me, it's my responsibility to now navigate and work through that, and it's also my responsibility to determine when I'm going to let that go and forgive that person. Because at the end of the day, like, as time goes on, uh, it could be, you could still be mad for something that happened to you 3 years ago. That person could have been moved on. Life moved on, and so now that trauma that you've experienced because of somebody else's actions, now you're not responsible for accepting it and letting it go. So he's made some great points so far. Let's keep going.
With other people making the decision, one, to not accept your apology, or two, not forget what you've done. I can completely forgive somebody, but I don't need to forget. And a lot of people move throughout the world without acknowledging how they affect other people.
That is a fact. That's a fact. He's spitting. You was spitting, man. He's saying some real stuff. That's true, man. I think a lot of people do struggle with um, they struggle with accountability. They really do. And when accountability is interesting interesting thing because uh, how do I say this? I don't know if everybody has been properly taught how to be accountable. And I know, people are grown, they should know what that means, but I would argue that some people do not know what it means to be accountable. Some people have not been told about how bad their behavior has been. There's a lot of people growing up that, family members did not bother with because they just thought the attitude that they had was cute. Or that's just who they are, right? And so some defaults you can be that. If nobody's taking the time to correct you, you have now created a disillusion within yourself to think that, oh, this is acceptable behavior. And then when you get a little bit older, you've never been called out for it. The moment you get called out on, you're like, man, what are you talking about? Oh, I ain't got no problems, right? So a lot of people aren't necessarily told when the behavior that they're done, what they've been doing, wasn't bad for them growing up. It's usually in those moments after they've done some damage to somebody where they realize, like, oh, even if they realize or they don't realize. They either realize they did something wrong, or even then, because they have never been, their behavior has never been corrected or even talked about. They never really worked on it. Accountability is a big thing, man. Because I think everybody, I swear, everybody thinks that they're perfect. And for people who be like, well, I work on myself. It's like, yeah, you work on yourself, but have you really sat in the mirror and asked yourself or told yourself honestly all the things you've done to people and really like accepted what comes with that? A lot of times we want to defend our own points and views because of why we did something. And sometimes, yeah, some things are out of response to somebody else, but there's some things that we do as human beings we just were flat out wrong, and we have to be able to accept that behavior and find a way to correct it so we don't continue to damage other people. This is how cycles continue. You know what I'm saying? Like this is how we are as a group of people are continuously hurting each other. This is why we are getting think pieces like this. And again, it's no disrespect to him. It's because like it's one of those things where so many people are experiencing so much hurt in our time today, man, where nobody really wants to again accept their faults. A lot of people aren't coming on here with accountability posts. There's people who are doing it. It's great, but again, the the amount of damage that was done up to this point to where they finally had like an aha moment, it's like it's usually just slim to none. Some people usually don't, realize the mistake they made the first time around. It's after they did something significantly wrong with somebody that they care about, where they realize like, oh, I really messed up. So let's finish this up.
And then expect for their apology to be an erasure to their past actions. That is possibly one of the most inconsiderate things that I can even fathom at this exact moment. Because how the heck are you able to just maneuver through life affecting other people and then expect them to be done with it because you're done with it? No, sit in it. Just
See, you cannot, I mean, again, sitting with our own stuff is very hard. A lot of people don't want to do it. When people say they want to focus on healing, they don't want to talk about sitting on their own stuff. Sometimes they just want to talk to people like myself, counselors and trainers or clinicians, to pretty much justify their behaviors and validate their feelings alone without challenging them to be accountable on their wrongdoing. There's many people who struggle with that because, again, it requires you to sit in a layer of discomfort that is important to you. Okay, let's get into one more before we wrap up.
Is it normal for growing as men to like not have any friends? Am I normal? I don't have like a group of guys that I text with or buddies that I'm chatting with on the phone or go fishing and I go out to bars drinking. I don't have any friends. Like my wife is my best friend.
Yeah.
And literally that's the only person I really spend time with. Am I normal?
So first off, I love his content. I found his content out like maybe a week ago. Just he says a lot of profound things in like a minute. It's always very intelligent man. And I wanted to talk about this lastly because we've been hearing about it so much as a society, and I think we don't properly address it in its proper fashion, which is this male loneliness epidemic that everybody wants to talk about. And I think sometimes we have to really be careful on what we say when it comes to narratives. Yes, is there an epidemic of a lot of men feeling lonely? Yes, right. Is there an epidemic where men are sometimes taking a step back and not wanting to want to date? Yes, it does not mean that it's just women's fault. I think we have to keep that perspective in mind. Like we really sometimes are bashing narratives that I really don't care for. I'm not a fan of social narratives without true objective thinking. A lot of people make social narratives in the sense of what is important to them based off what they feel and their perspective. And that's honestly doing a disservice to what it means to be a critical thinker, if I'm being honest. 'Cause that's not helping you grow as a person. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not having the healthy and conscious conversations if you don't really sit down and take the time to really understand it. So this is a very important topic, I think, because we don't talk about it enough. Obviously, brotherhood is usually important to a lot of men, but I would argue that in the area of friendships, men often do struggle with this a lot more than women, and I will say it's because of our inability to open up at times, or to feel like we have a tribe that we can connect with on a deeper level. As much as we act like we're very simple people as guys, like there's a lot of times that we want to come to our friends to really vent to them about different things. Which again, I would give women their credit for that. When their friendships are more in depth with certain things, which is why I think their connections, even though they may fall out for different things and they may feel appear small, these are things that they usually address head on. So I got to give them that. I think as men get older, yeah, I think there's a loneliness piece, especially men who are married. Sometimes there's a disconnect between yourself and friends. Sometimes it's just a lack of attention of wanting to really water the relationships. I mean, I could honestly say that as well. I feel like I've been in that transition in my life a couple of times where yeah, I'm talking to my guys every day on the group chat, but it might be 3 or 4 months when I see them, and the biggest thing we say is, like, yeah, we'll get together soon, and life is life, and then we're grown men at the end of the day, so what we're supposed to do, and I think that's the part where I'm starting to argue is a little, I don't agree with that necessarily. We got to be very conscious on building those relationships. Again, we got to create that space for ourselves and others to really be able to open up and discuss different things that are important to us, man. It's really helping us elevate and grow. But again, I think that is a big thing that a lot of men are struggling with that because, you know, for two reasons. One, sometimes it could be the spouse. Sometimes we do make decisions in accordance to the spouse, but I don't like to use that angle alone. I hate when sometimes people want to blame their wives for the reason why they can't go out. I think sometimes it's we don't want to hear their mouth, or we don't ask. We don't talk. We don't really have the conversation to like express the importance of this. Because I would argue that there's some wives that would encourage their husbands to make sure they still stay connected with their friends. Sometimes we go to a default of assuming that our wife don't want us to do that or whatever, and that's not fair. So again, I'm always keeping neutral to the social narrative to that. So sometimes your spouse is not the reason why you don't have any friends. I think again, you got to talk to them, sure, in consideration, but some people are encouraging that. But yeah, I think a lot of it is just the age part, man. Is as adults, life does get busy, and if you got kids and stuff like that, that can play a role. But again, I think like anything else, like similar to your relationships with, your significant other, if you got one, we got to do the same thing as men, as far as like building that relationship. Because again, it's important as we get older, more things start happening, and no man should be alone. Right? We got to have a tribe. Nobody should be alone. Period. But with us, I think we try to act like that's a good thing to be alone, isolated. We can do it all by ourselves. Like that's not it, man. You got to have a tribe. Find your tribe. Find the tribe that's important to you, and you got to water it like anything else. I can say that. I can say that respectfully. Like men, we can struggle with intentionality. We can. It's not our strong suit, especially as a collective. So we got to continue to water that, man. So point I'm getting at is that a lot of this stuff is all over the place as far as like social media, and we're all influenced by different things. But make sure we tell people that we love them. Make sure we stay connected with people. Make sure we stay intentional. And yeah, you gotta forgive people, but you don't gotta forget. But you do gotta accept the fact that it is your responsibility, regardless of what happened to you. And that's all I got, man. So I appreciate y'all. Just a quick little video. I know it's more I could have got into. There's a lot more other videos I'm getting into, but just wanted to put this out, man. Appreciate y'all. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to check out my stuff. All that good stuff. New book coming out soon. And it's not See You Soon. It's another book I was sitting on. So we're gonna put that out first. We're gonna talk about that soon enough. So appreciate y'all. Hope y'all have a good one. Until next time. Peace.